Imagine you're scrolling through your feed and you stumble on this wild question. What's the worst year in human history to be alive? Your mind might jump to 2020 with the pandemic chaos, or 1945 with the end of World War II and all that devastation, or even 1347 when the Black Death wiped out millions. Those were brutal, no doubt, full of fear, loss and uncertainty that hit us all hard. But dig a little deeper into history, and experts point to a year that's straight out of a nightmare, one that makes those feel almost tame by comparison. We're talking 536 AD, a time when the world literally went dark, and survival felt like an impossible fight. Picture yourself back then, not as some king or warrior, but just an everyday person. Maybe you're a farmer in rural Europe, scratching out a living from the soil, or a trader in the bustling streets of Constantinople in the Byzantine Empire. Life's already harsh, no electricity, no hospitals, no supermarkets. You rely on the sun for everything, growing food, staying warm, even lifting your spirits on a good day. Then one ordinary morning in early 536, everything changes. The sky, it just turns wrong. Not stormy wrong, but apocalypse-level eerie. A thick, hazy fog rolls in and refuses to leave. It's like the heavens decided to pull a blanket over the earth. What caused it? Scientists pieced it together from ancient tree rings, ice cores from Greenland, and old chronicles. A massive volcanic eruption, likely from a beast of a volcano in Iceland called Ilopango, or maybe even Krakatoa, exploded with insane force. We're talking one of the biggest blasts in recorded history, spewing billions of tons of ash, sulfur and dust high into the atmosphere. This stuff spread like a global poison cloud, circling the planet and blocking out the sun for a whopping 18 months. Yeah, you heard that right. Not days or weeks, but over a year and a half of dim, creepy twilight. Daytime? Forget bright blue skies. It was more like perpetual dusk with the sun looking pale and sickly, casting no real warmth or light. Ancient writers from across the world captured the horror. In Europe, a Byzantine historian named Procopius wrote that the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon during this whole year. Over in China, records talk about the stars being invisible, even at night, and bizarre frost killing off summer crops. Imagine stepping outside, feeling that bone-chilling cold in what should be the height of summer. Snow falling in July in places like Mesopotamia. Your skin prickles with goosebumps that never go away. The air feels heavy, almost suffocating, laced with that volcanic stink of sulfur that burns your throat. Now let's get real about the emotions here, the gut-wrenching fear and despair. You're watching your world unravel. Your crops, the ones you planted with hope in the spring, wither and die in the fields. Wheat stalks stay stunted, barley never ripens, vegetables rot before they even sprout. Famine sets in fast and furious. Irish annals from the time bluntly record a failure of bread that dragged on for years. Families huddle together in their drafty huts, sharing the last scraps of stored grain, listening to their children's hungry cries echo in the dark. Parents feeling that helpless ache in their chests, knowing they can't protect their kids from starvation. People start eating whatever they can find, roots, bark, even resorting to desperate measures like boiling leather or worse. Malnutrition weakens bodies, making everyone more vulnerable to disease and cold. And the darkness isn't just physical, it messes with your mind. No golden sunrises to start the day with hope, no warm evenings to unwind. Just endless grey that saps your energy, breeds paranoia. People whisper about omens, God's wrath, the end of times. Riots spark in cities as food runs out. Borders mean nothing when desperation hits. Tribes and empires clash over dwindling resources, turning neighbours into enemies. But wait, it gets even more heartbreaking. As if the volcanic winter wasn't enough, this catastrophe set off a chain reaction. The cold and famine weakened immune systems across continents. Then around 541 AD, just 5 years later, the bubonic plague explodes onto the scene. Known as the Plague of Justinian, it started in Egypt, or maybe Central Asia, and spread like wildfire through trade routes. Fleas on rats carried the Yersinia pestis bacteria, and in the crowded, starving cities, it was a massacre. Swollen lymph nodes, fever, blackening skin, people dropping dead in days. Historians estimate it killed 25 to 50 million people, maybe a third or even half of the population in the hardest hit areas like the Eastern Roman Empire. Bodies piled up in the streets, too many to bury. Emperor Justinian himself caught it, but survived. But his empire? It never fully recovered, crumbling under the weight of depopulation and economic ruin. 536 wasn't just a bad year. It kicked off a decade of hell that historians call the Late Antique Little Ice Age. Wars intensified. Think the Gothic War in Italy turning even bloodier as armies fought over scraps. Societies fractured, knowledge was lost, and it took centuries for Europe and Asia to bounce back. A Harvard medieval historian, Michael McCormick, dove deep into the evidence and labelled 536 as the worst year to be alive. Why? Not because it had the highest single death toll, but because it layered disaster on disaster. A climate shock that starved the world, bred fear and chaos, and paved the way for one of history's deadliest pandemics. It was a perfect storm of suffering, hitting every corner of life. Think about how fragile we are without modern buffers. No global aid shipments zooming in, no vaccines or antibiotics, no heaters or canned food stockpiles, just raw human resilience, or the lack of it, against a planet gone mad. It makes you appreciate the little things, like feeling the sun on your face in Nairobi on a crisp afternoon. So yeah, next time, life's throwing curveballs, and a year feels unbearable. Remember 536. It hurts, it scares us, but we've come through worse as a species. At least now, the sun still rises bright and warm most days. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and check out some of our latest works. See you on the next one.